In today's show, we look ahead to week 21. It might be the first week of your playoffs. It might be the last week of your playoffs. It might be the middle of your playoffs, or you might play Roto, and playoffs don't matter. We're going to talk about it. Michael Bolton.
Thanks, Josh. It's Michael Bolton here, and it's time for another episode of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed.
You are Locked On Fantasy Basketball, your daily fantasy basketball podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd and I am the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com. And you can find me on Twitter, as always, at redrock_bball, on TikTok at redrock_bball, and on Instagram at Locked On Fantasy Basketball. Today's episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with the promo code LOCKEDON. That's PrizePicks.com, and the promo code is LOCKEDON. Thank you for making Locked On Fantasy Basketball your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms. So we're here. Week 21. Congratulations if this is the last week and you were in the championship. This is the final week for the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Bowl. And this is the big chungus of them all. This is the final 60-team battle royal for the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Bowl. And just in case you're not aware, you cannot make waiver ads during this week. You can drop players to activate guys off IL, but you cannot add players if you're in the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Bowl for this week. This is it. This is the final deciding matchup to see how you go against the 59 other opponents in that battle royal. Good luck. I hope I'm in there. I might be. We will see. We're getting close. Hopefully I get through. So yeah, good luck for that. Good luck for whatever part of the season you're at, because Warnie's here to say,
let's get it on, Gilly.
All right, week 21. It is a streaming week. It's a streaming week. It's a low volume week. It's a streaming week. So a couple of things to pay attention to there. When you use your ads is very important, because there are not going to be days where it's like, well, I can't stream this day because there's 13 games. It doesn't happen this week. Every day is below, or 8 games or below. So that is important to be able to understand that you can possibly stream every day. That is what this week looks like. But it's also important to not completely panic when you see your guys having lower volume of games. Because again, this is a situation where we have low volumes just in general right across the week. We'll talk about the bad schedules, the good schedules, but it is a lower volume week in general, which helps alleviate some of the concern. So there are, when we talk about it later on, there are some 2-game players where it's not great, but it's not a complete disaster. It's not great. Like, they're not top 100 players for the week, but they're not 180th or something like that, where you're like, what am I even doing with this guy? So, be aware of that. The schedule. 7 on Monday, 8 on Tuesday, 7 on Wednesday, 5 on Thursday. That is a wildly low volume beginning to the week. Crazy. And then, for some reason, I don't know why, we end the week with 8 games Friday, 8 games Saturday, 8 games Sunday. So there is streaming possibilities on every single day, but it is extraordinarily low volume to begin the week. So understand that you will have guys where you go, man, we're playing one game. What's going on? And that'll be the case for a lot of different teams, as we'll talk about later on. But it is a strange week. And the opposite's going to happen. If you are one of those people playing fantasy basketball in April, shout out to you. This show will still go. We will still do everything the same. You shouldn't be playing then, but we will still do it. And I will continue to tell you every episode, hey, don't play fantasy, but we'll still do everything. But you'll find those weeks where 22 teams play 4 games. Like, it's a crazy schedule. Everyone's jam-packed in there. For what reason, I don't know. But they are. And I'm talking about that too much. But anyway, let's go through how the games look in terms of distribution of games. Half of the teams in the NBA play 4 games this week. 15 teams play 4 games. 12 teams play 3 games. And then we've got the Knicks, the Jazz, and the Hornets all playing 2 games for this week. So we've had a rough run of things. Last week, there was about 5 teams played 2 games. This week, we've got 3 teams playing 2 games. And mixed in there, we've had that real stinking schedule from the Spurs where they didn't play for 4 days in a row last week. And that situation where the Bulls, I think it was the Bulls and the Clippers, played 2 games in 7 nights across a midweek period. Like that's obviously these 2 teams, Knicks, Jazz, and Hornets, are playing 2 games in 7 nights, but There's some other teams in there that had a double whammy. Like the Bulls played 2 games last week, and then I think they played 3 games in 10 nights. Same as the Clippers. That's rough, man. That's rough. So that's how the schedule plays out for the week. So a bad week for the Knicks, and that makes it super bad if you've got the burner Jalen Brunson, because you don't even know if he's going to play 2 games because he's currently injured. So the value of the replacements, like Emmanuel Quickley, he's not that good where 2 games means you have to have him this week. Josh Hart, you don't have to have him. RJ Barrett, you definitely don't have to have him. Quentin Grimes, no. And honestly, if Brunson plays 1 game, what's the point of that? That is really, really important to pay attention to. Like the Jazz, what if Sexton comes back for 1 of those games? Is it worth having Chris Dunn for 1 game? Or Horton Tucker for 1 game of starting? Or Jordan Clarkson, who we don't know is going to play? Like, I don't know. The only guys I feel good about are Kessler and Markkanen. Olynyk, 2 games? Probably not. You've got to start making tough decisions with these 3 teams in particular, because that's not great, obviously. Now, it goes without saying that we're trying to maximize games played for the week. Every move that you make during this week has got to be intentional. It's how do I get more volume in, but also how do I get the right players in? In a vacuum doesn't mean a single thing. It means nothing. Is this guy ranked 70th? Is this guy ranked 100th? Doesn't matter. Makes no difference whatsoever. Because what you have to do is beat the person who is in front of you. Now, in the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Bowl for categories or for points leagues, you're against 59 other opponents. So you can't strategize for one particular build. So that is this getting volume and value, right? That's the difference there. But in a standard head-to-head category league, it doesn't matter if this guy's ranked 40 spots ahead of another guy. If you need blocks, the blocks guy is better. If you need a help in assists, then getting an assist guy is better than someone who gets field goal percentage, even if they're ranked 60 spots apart. That is your mindset. Drop players. If someone's good but doesn't help you, who cares? It doesn't matter that they're good. If they don't help you, they're actually not good. You got to be brutal. You got to make tough calls. You got to make calls that if we were talking about week 5, that you'd go, or I'd even say, hey, what's wrong with you, dickhead? What are you doing? Why are you dropping this guy? But at this point of the season, I go, that makes sense. Makes sense. And that's how you got to look at it. It's about getting... Now, if you get to Thursday or Friday and you're going to win your matchup, then you can start looking, well, I don't actually need to prioritize something for Saturday here. Let's look a little bit more holistically. Let's look at the next 10 days in total. And you can have some of that idea. But in general, most playoff games in fantasy basketball, unless your opponent is completely just destroyed, I was going to say decimated, but I hate the way that the meaning of that word has changed, and so I'm trying to avoid using that word. If your opponent's completely just wiped out with injuries, then you can say, okay, I don't need to make tough cuts to beat him to get a 5-4 to sneak through. I'm going to win easy. All right, and then I can plan, I don't have to drop a Brunson or a Quickley. I can hold and get a bit more value moving forward. But every individual, and I put this poll out before I recorded this show. I put it out on YouTube and Twitter saying, what do you guys watch this show for? I feel like I'm going very tangentially here. What do you guys watch this show for? Information, advice, or entertainment? Hopefully it's a combination of all 3. But providing advice is really, really difficult to do. I do it, but to me, that is not the number one part of this show. Because every individual situation is completely different. So you've got to take the information that I provide in an entertaining way and turn that into individually customized advice. Because I could tell you that this guy's a drop, but for your league, you'll have game limits or different roster constructions, or the guy you're going up against has KD and Doncic and every other player that's injured and you're going to win easily, so it doesn't matter, or you've got to buy this week. So individual advice can't really be put that way. And it's hyper important to not look at something and say, I must drop this guy, I must add this guy. Right? That's not how you need to look at it. You need to look at, what am I doing? What's my team? How's it look? Who's my guys? Where's my strengths? Where's my weaknesses? What's my opponent's strengths? What's my opponent's weaknesses? I hope that all makes sense. I think it does. If you've been playing fantasy long enough, I think it will. Today's episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. PrizePicks, the old PrizePicks, daily fantasy, but daily fantasy made easy. You are not creating lineups. You are not going out there and competing against thousands of people. It's you versus player projections. That is it. If Luka's out, do you think Christian Wood's going to score more? Well, you can look at his points number and go, I think he'll score more than 12.5 points or whatever they've got it listed at. Or you could go and look at Tim Hardaway and his 3-pointers and say, hey, he might have a big one here. Well, he also might have a big night shooting threes. 3.5 triples. Is he going to be more or less? Let's have a look. And you could do between 2 to 6 of those individual player projections in a lineup and get 25 times your entry fee back. You can do it so fast, under 60 seconds, in over 30 US states and in the majority of Canadian territories and provinces. And it's not just the NBA. You can do it for NHL, Major League Baseball. We're here. Cactus League's rolling. The season's not far away. Locked On Fantasy Baseball. Check them out. You can do it for NASCAR, PGA. You can do it for cricket. You can do it for boxing. You can do it for college basketball, tournaments coming up, men's and women's. You can do it for all of that. And of course, you can do it for disc golf. So download the PrizePicks app or go to prizepicks.com to sign up and play daily fantasy sports. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with the promo code LOCKEDON. If you deposit $100, PrizePicks will give you $100. If you deposit $50, PrizePicks will give you $50. Don't forget to enter the promo code LOCKEDON at sign up for an instant deposit match up to $100. Let's look at some back-to-backs. We don't have to worry about pseudo back-to-backs because there's no high-volume games during the week for us to scheme around. Monday, Tuesday, we've got Detroit, Phoenix, and Milwaukee. The teams that I highlight in black are the teams where we've got a little bit extra concern with back-to-back resting. The Pistons, they are going to screw us multiple times. Does Durham play the back-to-back? Does Bogdanovic come back, play one game as a cameo, wave to the crowd, and then see you later? He's definitely not playing 2 of them. Does Killian Hayes, who Dwayne Casey said, Killian's just got to get back to playing like he was before France. My guy, he did play like that. Anyway, that's a rant for another moment. Like, there's going to be weird stuff going on. Alec Burks is going to be in and out. I know this. Corey Joseph's going to be in and out. Phoenix, feel okay that they're going to play both those games. The Bucks, obviously, Middleton, I should have put them in black as well. Middleton's going to sit, and Giannis, you would think with his hand issues, probably going to sit as well. Tuesday, Wednesday, back-to-back Lakers. Davis is one to watch, but I think there's a chance he plays through it. Russell, I think, will be fine. The Cavs should never worry, but we've got to watch for Garland. And then the Spurs, it's going to be rough. The Spurs are going to sit Sohan and Johnson and Vassell and Jones and probably Collins almost 100% in one of those 2 games. I can't guarantee it, but I can guarantee it, if you know what I mean. Don't come here and say, you said 100%, Josh, because I'm not. I'm just telling you it's 95% that those blokes, Vassell, Sohan, Johnson, Jones, Collins, the starting 5, will not play both of those games is my guess. Wednesday, Thursday, it's only the Kings with a back-to-back. No real risk there, I don't think. Thursday, Friday, none. Friday, Saturday, Memphis, probably no back-to-back risk there. I don't think Bane or Jackson's at much of a risk. I don't know when Jar's returning. I don't think it's this week. Philadelphia, Embiid and Harden are always going to be a little bit iffy towards this end of the season. The Warriors, Clay is playing through back-to-backs, and they need to win. And Steph's being fine with it, so I don't think there's a worry there. Boston, well, it's going to be Al Horford. And even if the Rock DJ, Robbie Williams, does return, he's going to sit one. Minnesota, I don't think Towns is back, so not worried there. Chicago, not worried there. Washington, not really worried there either. Saturday, Sunday, that's the weekend back-to-back. You've got some stinkers there. The Clippers, so Kawhi is going to sit. Paul George probably plays. I do think, don't hold me to this, I do think Kawhi is going to play a back-to-back this season. And I'm not ruling out that this is it. I think there's a chance it is, but I don't know. I think George is fine to play. And then for the Heat, I'm just always going to put a question mark on Jimmy Butler. And then also, if Kyle Lowry does return,
double cheeked up on a Thursday afternoon,
then he's a risk to sit at least one of those games if he's even back in action. The Orlando Magic also have the back-to-back. Could Wendell Carter sit, dealing with his hip problem? Possibly, yeah. Toronto, no real worry there. And Denver, maybe. Depends what their record is. They had a couple of stinking losses. So if they've pushed up a little bit and they're back in, got a pretty good buffer, maybe you could see a KCP or an Aaron Gordon or a Jamal Murray sitting, but I don't think so. And then heading into week 22, it's the Rockets who have got the Sunday-Monday combo. I guess with old mate, contusion legend Kevin Porter Jr. Maybe he sits one of the back-to-backs, the bruisiest man in the world. No offense to anyone who does suffer from this affliction because it's a shocking affliction, but this bloke got hemophilia. Why is he bleeding so much? Why is this guy contusing as often as he is? Stinking. All right, let's look at the streaming plan for the week. It does, again, depend on what you're doing with your matchups and how many acquisitions you've got. But I'm trying to look at this with a standard roster and 4 ads for the week. So we want to try in the playoffs to use 2 roster spots to stream in. And the best way we're going to start is use those two roster spots and get 3 games in 4 nights, Monday through Thursday. And that means you're looking at the Bucks, the Suns, the Pistons, and the Kings. Now, there are issues there with trusting the Pistons, but Isaiah Livers, Bagley, Wiseman, really strong ads. Jaden Ivey, if he is still available, maybe even Corey Joseph gets a crack there. Milwaukee, you're looking at probably Portis, Crowder, Carter, because they're going to have opportunities in at least one of those 3 games to really pop off. The Suns, it's Okogie, really. Like, there's no Kevin Durant, so Okogie and Craig are going to start. Now, Okogie can be very up and down, but that schedule really does give him that push. I gave him the push by putting him on the thumbnail list, but Josh Okogie gets that push, just getting, like, even if he gets 25 a night, that's 75 minutes across the first 4 nights of this week for a guy that can have a sizable role. And then you've got the Kings as well. So, yeah, that's the value of Harrison Barnes, is the value of Keegan Murray, Malik Monk, Kevin Huerter, all guys who have been pretty fringy, to be honest, and Trey Lyles as well, with 3 games in 4 nights to start the week. Then you've got those 2 roster spots. So after Thursday, you've got the 3 games out of those spots, 6 games, 2 ads. Pretty good return. Then you can reuse those spots for any team, and there's a lot of them that play twice on the Friday to Sunday combination. There are a lot of those teams that play that grouping. Now, how you want to run that, I would suggest trying to save a move out of those last 2 that you've got, for just to see what happens on Saturday, Sunday. Maybe try the back-to-back for injury options and guys that step up. But there are a lot of teams that play 2 games here. In fact, it's over half of the NBA that plays 2 games between Friday and Sunday. So you've got a big choice of guys. I'd probably use 1 roster spot on a Friday team that plays either Saturday or Sunday. And then I would leave that other one for probably the Saturday, Sunday back-to-back, so we get more up-to-date injury news to try and get a benefit there. But that's a little bit up and down. So it is a tougher week to really maximize, given the nature that we can stream basically every single day. We can get in there and stream guys out. Today's episode is brought to you by the legends over at Built Bar. Hold on a second. We've got a new Built Bar ad. The Built March Madness bracket is here. We know you have a favorite Built Bar or a Built Puff, and now is your time to make it count. Go to builtmarchmadness.com to vote for your favorites. I will be voting absolutely for cookies and cream. It is the GOAT. And if you want them, what's this? If you want the, I think this is catered to a different ad. I should have read this before. Broadcasting 101. Anyway, you go vote for your favorite Built Bar over at built.com. When you vote for your favorite bar, you'll be entered into a drawing where 50 lucky Locked On listeners will get a free box of Built. And not only that, but one Locked On fan can win a 12-month subscription to Built to have Built's best bars or puffs delivered monthly straight to your door. Hold on a second. That's amazing. You got to try Built. Built is the best protein bar ever. Seriously, they're so amazing. You won't even think that they're good for you. What makes Built bars so good and Built puffs so good? Well, it's low in sugar and it's 100% real chocolate. You know that. So go to builtmarchmadness.com right now to vote for your favorite bar or puff and pick up a box while you're there. You can vote every day in March. So hop in and support your pick. Built Bar is built, like this ad, different. All right. Built March Madness. Let's look at front and back loading. Pretty weird stuff to start this week. We already talked Milwaukee, Phoenix, Detroit, Sacramento play 3 games in 4 nights to start the week. All right, we know that. That's a good way to attack. But look at the list of those teams that play once in the first 4 nights of this week. Washington, the Clippers, the Hawks, the Bulls, the Pelicans, Knicks, Jazz, Blazers, Sixers, Hornets. So the 3 2-game teams, Knicks, Jazz, Hornets, play once. But there's a bunch of other teams that play once as well. So when you see your guy play, man, he's only got 1 game to start the week. You're not alone. How many times? 4, 8, 10 teams. A third of the league play 1 game in the first 4 nights of this week. So while it's not great, and you can turn a player from any of those teams, a fringe player from any of those teams, into 3 games, triple the output by switching them for a Buck, Sun, Piston, or King. Understand that if you do hold on to one of those 1-game guys because they're so good, you are not alone. You have got so many other players across the entire league that are probably your fantasy opponent that's going to have that massive games drop to begin the week. So while it's great, if you can turn a fringe Clipper, Marcus Morris for some reason, if you're rostering him, I don't know, Russell Westbrook, if you're rostering him.
Price of the brick going up.
Sadiq Bey, John Collins, Pat Williams, Alex Caruso, Trey Murphy. If you can turn one game of those guys in the first 4 nights to 3 games of Okogie, 3 games of Bagley the third, 3 games of Bagley the fourth, it's a W. To end the week, we're looking at Toronto, Denver, and Orlando. They play 3 games in 4 nights, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So in that final 4 days, that's where the bonus is. There are 3 teams, the Dallas Mavericks, the Cleveland Cavaliers, and the Utah Jazz, who do not play on the weekend. So, your Tim Hardaways, Reggie Bullocks, Christian Woods, Isaac Okoro, if for some reason you have him, Karis LeVert, and the Utah guys, Jordan Clarkson, Taylor Horton-Tucker, Chris Dunn. These guys all become drops after they were done for the week, because they don't play on the weekend. And that's how we open up more roster spots. It's a weird week. Now, adding a new little segment in here. I hope you guys enjoy this. Where are the big breaks? Where are the weird spots where you can take advantage? So, having 2 games or 3 games is a pain. But it's when you have 3 games in a row where a roster spot goes unused that is a real problem. And there are a bunch of these that I think are worth highlighting. The Atlanta Hawks have 3 days off, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So you got your Hawks guys. We're going to talk Bay, Collins, Hunter. They're probably the 3 main ones, because it doesn't really count. It's annoying for Trey and DeJounte and for Capella for sure. Okongwu is in that mix as well. So Hunter, Okongwu, Bay, Collins. They play Monday. See you later. You don't need to hold them for zeros for 3 consecutive days. You can hold Monday and move off them. 3 days with no games is not worth it. The Knicks, they've only got a 2-game week, and they have 3 days off, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So they play the Tuesday, and they have 3 days off. So again, your Quickleys, Barretts, Grimes, Hart, Robinson even. Maybe even Brunson. Like if Brunson's ruled out for Tuesday, you do not hold him to wait for Saturday. It's just not worth it. As good as he's been, and then having no certainty that he even plays on the Saturday, it's just you've lost yourself your week. The Hornets, or no, not the Hornets, the Jazz. They got a massive 4-day gap. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So they play Monday, and they don't play again until Saturday. So you got them on Monday, and then Clarkson, Horton-Tucker, done. Markkanen? Probably not, but Kessler? Maybe. That's 4 days of nothing. 4 days of zeros from Walker Kessler. And after Monday, is his 1 game, is Walker Kessler's 1 game after Monday worth it when you could get, I'll have a look at this. So the Jazz play Monday, then they have the 4 days off, right? If I have a look at, when do the Jazz, so they play Saturday. All right, so Walker Kessler plays 1 game after Monday, 1 game on Saturday. There are like 14 teams that play 3 games in that time frame. There are how many teams that play 3 games in that midst there? The Lakers, the Spurs, and the Cavs play 3 games on those 4 nights that the Jazz don't play at all. So while Kessler's great and all, you could drop him after Monday and then get 3 full games from Austin Reeves, Dennis Schroeder, from whatever the hell's going on with the Spurs, Charlie Bassey, the Cavs, from LeVert. You could get 3 games in before Kessler even sees the court again. It's a tough call. But the schedule makes you need to make those decisions. The Hornets play 1 game in 5. They've got a 5-night stretch where they play 1 game. So the Hornets have the Saturday, Sunday back-to-back. We know that. They play again on Tuesday. Really strong start. And then, see you later. Between Wednesday and Sunday, they play 1 game. And it is on Friday. So, Oubre, Hayward, Rozier, Williams, Richards if you added him. It's not worth holding for 1 game in 5 nights. For all of those players, I don't think. Maybe you consider Rozier a hold. But 1 game in 5 nights between Wednesday and Sunday, I don't think that's really worth it. There's no team that plays 4 games in 5 nights there, but there are 14 teams that play 3 games. It's 3 times the output. Maybe it's not. Let's say it's double the output, playing 3 times the amount of games. And the Clippers, to start the week, play 1 game in 5 nights. They play on Wednesday. They don't play Monday, Tuesday. They don't play Thursday, Friday. And then they have the weekend back-to-back. So Zubats, is that worth holding? Probably not. Marcus Morris, 100% not. Westbrook, probably not. Paul George, yes. Kawhi, yes. Because they're that good. But everybody else, 100% expendable. I hope this little big break section helps you out. Hope. Let's look at weekly leagues. I think there is some value in looking at weekly leagues from a daily league perspective as well, because it's about like who gets the little boost that might be available with the more games this week if you're trying to save your ads for the end of the week. These guys are all available in over 50% of Yahoo leagues. This is for category leagues. And I think they're all top 100 plays on a volume basis for the week. Tari, tank season. Xavier T. Illman, the cashier. Passport legend, Jalen Duren. Although, does he play the back-to-back? I don't know. Dennis Schroeder came off the bench last game and still played 30 minutes, so we're back in. KJ Martin. Cole Anthony, iffy. Austin Reeves, yeah, he played 32 minutes with Russell back. I really like what he provides. And the big fella who got Goldfinger Charlie Bassey is in that group as well. So they're all guys that, even in a daily changes league, the fact that they play 4 games for the week, you can add them today. If you've got a buy, you can add them today, get 4 games for the price of 0 ads. Sits. I wouldn't start a single Hornet this week in a weekly changes league. The Knicks, I would sit everyone, maybe Randall. I would consider starting the double royal. Unless I hear definitively, I'm not starting Jalen Brunson. He might get 1 game. It is not enough. I don't know. He's out Saturday. I don't know if he plays their game, I think, on Tuesday. I would not start him. The Jazz, I would sit everybody, except Lauri Markkanen. I would maybe consider Kessler, but that's in a category league, obviously, and that's going to depend. Hey, do I just need blocks and field goals? Because if I don't, then there's no way that I'm starting him. But he could be a start. He's a borderline start in a 2-game week. The other guys I would sit who are highly rostered, Sadiq Bey, Christian Wood, Bogdan Bogdanovic, Tim Hardaway, John Collins. All Hawks and Mavs there. 3-game weeks, if he rolls. For points leagues, guys that I would add for the week. Again, these are all top 100 guys who are available in 50% of leagues. Kyle Anderson, by the way, he is a category league ad as well. I don't know why he didn't come up on that list. I think it's because he's at 51%. I just chucked him in the points. Xavier T. Illman, Tari Eason, Kyle Anderson, Jeremy Sohan.
Zohan now!
KJ Martin, Dennis Schroeder, the passport legend Jalen Duren, and Josh Okogie. 4 games, useful for a category league as well. And we already talked about him in terms of streaming the beginning of the week. But in a weekly changes league, they've got some value. And we're sitting in a points league, all Hornets. We're sitting all Knicks except for Randall in a points league. I'd be very comfortable starting Randall in a points league this week with 2 games. And the Jazz, I'm not even considering Kessler. I'll sit all Jazz apart from Lauri Markkanen, who I think is going to be worth that ad. And then we go back to Johnny Collins, Okongwu, Hardaway, Bay. All of those guys I wouldn't bother starting. And DeAnthony Melton, not a good points league player. 3 games, uncertainty of role, wouldn't bother with it. Guys, that'll do it for me today. Don't forget to follow this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, and on the Odyssey app. And if you're here on YouTube, you know what to do. You thumb it up. And you leave your comments down below. Guys, we are done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya.